it is important that as we're dealing with, we deal with the fires, we deal with COVID, we're about to hit the second anniversary of COVID, and how our life has changed. It is essential that we as a community take the time and begin the process of healing. Many of us are the victims of trauma. Many of us have caused trauma to our children and to other individuals, and we need to heal from that. We need to go through a process of understanding why, and then heal from our trauma. And then the other step is forgive ourselves. Forgive ourselves because we didn't know better, which is not to excuse the behavior. But what I'm seeing a lot, especially with my Latinx community, is that parents, sometimes what they end up doing is opening up to their children about their own traumas. And then the children becomes their therapist, basically. And that is not healthy or appropriate. And so when I talk about mental health, I always talk about the benefit of going to see a therapist, and the benefit of participating in support groups, and the benefit of reading books. In the United States, in general, people are not reading in the way that they used to in the 90s or even in the early 2000s. People read memes and they read text, but we're not reading books. Books about healing. A wonderful book, if you have suffered from trauma in childhood, is called Homecoming. And it's a beautiful book that talks about the inner child that is traumatized. And how do we put that child that is being our tool to protect us from ourselves and from our bad decisions? How do we put that child to sleep and say, it's okay, you don't have to protect me. I can take care of myself now. It's a beautiful book that I invite the community to think about, finding, because it's a book, and eventually in the next couple of weeks, I'll probably put that book on my links in my website, lideresdelfuturo.org. But for now, you can check it out. It's called Homecoming by John Bradshaw. It's an older book. It has a few surveys about yourself, and then it teaches you how to begin the process of healing. So if you cannot afford to go to therapy, people tell me all the time, you know what, I wish I could go to therapy, I just don't have the time and I don't have the money. And what I tell them all the time, in fact, I've had that same conversation today, and what I tell them all the time is, if you woke up in the morning and you were getting ready to go to school or go to work, and a little bit of blood was coming out of your ears, and you wipe it off, and a little bit more comes out, you wouldn't say, I don't have the time and I don't have the money to be able to look into it. But just because our brain doesn't do that, doesn't mean that we are not suffering. And we need to be conscious of this, and we need to take care of our health. We need to take care of our mental health, because if we don't do that, then that's when we start developing physical problems, such as heart problems, lung problems like COPD, and eventually some individuals end up suffering from aneurysms. Because what happens is the muscles around the heart and the lungs start tightening so much that there are microscopic tears over time. We're talking about years. And eventually, it just doesn't work. Worrying fixes absolutely nothing. Right? When somebody goes to the hospital, well, we are not doctors. We're going to trust that the doctors are going to do their part. It's okay to be concerned, but unless you are the doctor who can fix the problem, and I know I'm putting it very simplistic, but we have to be pragmatic about this. This is what critical analysis does. I am not a doctor. I cannot do the surgery. I cannot take care of it. I need to focus on my mental health, eating healthy, sleeping enough, exercising, spending quality time with loved ones that are not toxic, reading on how I can heal from my own traumas, and then supporting those that surround me. And the more that we pay attention and do this, the better we will be. Because remember, some of the decisions that we make today are going to affect the next 7 generations in our families and in our communities. A lot of our kids are suffering now because of COVID, but they're suffering in silence. And we need to do more to support ourselves and support them. And the number one thing that we can do is talk with each other. Hey, how are you feeling? How are your friends? I haven't seen your friend so and so. Is he or she doing okay? Let's have a conversation once a week at least, sitting down as a family, maybe playing a few table games, and again, talking, discussing, providing resources, offering feedback, and most importantly, and always the most important thing, offering unconditional love to our children, to our loved ones. Because at the end of the day, that is more powerful than anything else. Remember, as I keep saying in the show, Líderes del Futuro, our children need to hear that they are loved unconditionally at least 12 times a day, because there's so much drama out there in their schools, in the community, with COVID and everything else, that this will hopefully create a little bit of a balance between the negativity they experience every day and the love, the unconditional love that we can offer. And with that, I want to thank you for being with me today in this your show, Líderes del Futuro.